Hello there. Are you ready to supercharge your interactions with AI? Today we are diving into the magic of prompt engineering, the key to making AI tools like ChatGPT do exactly what you want. And all you need to do is master the art of prompting effectively. In this beginner-friendly, hands-on video, we will start from the basics. What prompts are, why they matter, and how to craft prompts effectively to achieve accurate and contextually relevant AI responses. We will dive deep into numerous real-world examples demonstrating the practical applications of these techniques, and we will also tackle common challenges that newcomers often face, providing you with practical tips and solutions to enhance your prompting skills. Whether you are looking to automate tasks, generate content, or develop innovative AI tools, the skills you require today are very crucial. By the end of this video, you will not only understand prompt engineering, but also make AI work smarter for you. So, let's dive in and start creating some AI magic. Now let's understand what is prompt engineering. Prompt engineering is as much an art as it is a science. A very creative line. We'll come back to this once we understand what is actually prompt engineering. Prompt engineering is made up of two words, prompt and engineering. Prompt is nothing but a detailed set of guidelines or instructions given to the LLM or generative model to do a task. Engineering is developing iteratively a task-specific prompt to enable the generative models or LLMs to output a perfect or near perfect outcome that you have focused for. So, if you see, prompt engineering is an iterative process. How? First is the idea that comes to you, that you want this. Then you have prompt, you design a prompt. Then there are results, you give that to your model, your ChatGPT, okay? And then you have to test, you have a feedback, right? So basically, it's a process, an iterative process. Now, once you have the prompt and you have the results, you might be not very much satisfied with the result. This is where you develop or you have a conversation with your ChatGPT, with your model, and enforce or reinforce the model to give you a good result, a good output, which is what you want. For example, if you have a task on code generation, now a specific problem statement can be solved through various methods. For example, you want to output palindrome. Palindrome can be done by brute force. Palindrome can also be done by a recursive method, recursion. For example, when you give ChatGPT a prompt, it will first give you a brute force method. You have to keep on instructing and providing an attempt or providing a prompt to ChatGPT so that it gives you an optimized version for your code. This is an example for code generation. Similarly, suppose you have content creation. You want to create a content, and your content that you want to create is directed towards a specific target audience. Now, when you give ChatGPT a prompt, the results it will show you that might not be satisfying enough. You have to tell your ChatGPT or your generative model iteratively what you want. Give them a feedback. For example, you have not received a good output. What you will tell your ChatGPT, for example, this is not I want. Please generate the output based on my target audience or based on my feedback provided, right? That's where your feedback or test comes into picture. You have to have a conversation with your generative model, or for in this case, if we say ChatGPT, give them a feedback, constant feedback. It is good, it is bad, it is what specific part you want it to be changed, right? All these things are an iterative process. That's why we say prompt engineering is an iterative process based on the guidelines or the detailed set of instructions that you provide for a specific task. Now let's go back a bit. We said when we started about prompt engineering that it is an art as it is a science. How it is an art? It is an art because when you conceive an idea and when you write a prompt, it is your creativity which comes into picture. However, the science part comes in when you provide your generative model or LLM, or in this case, ChatGPT, the prompt, and it gives you the result. Because in the back end, there is something called generative models, there is something called different transformers or architectures that are going into picture where billions of parameters are playing a role to give you this result. That becomes your science part of it. That's why prompt engineering is combination of both an art and science. Now that you have understood what is prompt engineering, let's go and see the main element of prompt engineering, that is prompts, without which generative model ChatGPT will not work. Prompts are constituted, or it contains two parts majorly, that is parameters and structure. What will be the structure and what will be the parameters of your prompts? That when you design it, you have to think so that you have an optimized result. Now, structure is one thing that we'll talk more about, and parameters here, let me explain. I have only selected few parameters. You can search more. There are more parameters on which prompts work. Majorly, here we are highlighting only 3 parameters, that is temperature, top P and max length. Temperature is the randomness that comes into picture when you provide that parameter to your prompt. It ranges from 0 to 1. And if you want your model to be creative and generate creative answers or generate creative outcomes, your range, or you set your temperature to 0.7 to 0.8. However, in tasks such as code generation, you don't need creativity. So you can set your temperature to 0 also, where you do not want creativity. Now, top P is actually kind of same as temperature. It also has creativity. Top P is top probability that it selects from. So you have a generative model. It generates results based on your prompt. Now, there can be n number of results. How does that model decide what to put as an output for you? Here, top P comes into picture. More the top P, more you have different creative answers, right? So, low for factual, high for diverse. Last is max length. Again, it is written, manage your response length. This parameter is to control the cost of your generative model as well. So, now you have understood what is prompt engineering, what is a prompt, and what are the two main components of your prompt, that is parameter and structure. Now let's see components of a good prompt. What we mean by good prompt is that your ChatGPT, your generative model, gives you a good output, your good outcome, and you have less feedbacks for your ChatGPT or generative model. Now let's see. The first, or I would say the first two, are context and instruction. These are interchangeable how you want to design your prompt. If you want, you keep instruction first and then context in your prompt, you can do the same. If you want to keep the context first and then instruction, you can do the same. Context is an additional information that you want to provide to your model. Instruction is a specific task that you want your model to perform. For example, if you want to summarize some text, that is your instruction. Summarize your text. Summarize this text. Context is why you want to summarize. What is the outcome you want to achieve? For example, going back to Tesla, there you are providing an instruction to summarize, but the context is that you want a business report. From a business report, you want what is the profit from 2020 to 2023, right? So that is the context that you need to set. Why do you want this? Why it is needed? Next is the input data. Okay, what is your input data? For the example, Tesla example, the input data is your business report or business article that you will provide to ChatGPT. And output indicator is what and how you want as an output. For example, you want in a CSV format your output. Suppose you want in a tabular format, or you want in a graphical format. So you have to tell what kind of output or what format of output you want. So these are the 4 components of a good prompt. If your prompt consists of these 4 things, you are enabling your generative model, your ChatGPT, to give you better and good results. Now, let's see an example. Here we will see sentiment analysis. We are setting up a context. It is written, act as an analyst. You are asking your ChatGPT to act like an analyst working for an OTT platform. You are saying your ChatGPT that you will have to perform sentiment analysis based on the feedback provided by the consumers. You are working for an OTT platform. Your consumers are the users that are seeing your movies, your web series. Now, the feedback that they provide, on that you have to do sentiment analysis. This is the context that you are giving to your ChatGPT. Now, giving this, your ChatGPT knows that they need to think from an analyst perspective. They need to do sentiment analysis. Now, second is instruction. You are saying to ChatGPT to classify the feedback into neutral, negative, positive. Where you are instructing or telling your ChatGPT that what is positive. Positive means your consumer is your promoter. Negative means they are demoter. Neutral means they are neither promoter or demoter. They are neutral towards your content. This is the instruction that you give. What the ChatGPT or what generative model needs to do. This is what it is doing. Classifying. Next is your input data and your output indicator. Before that, let's see an example. A good prompt. While you are giving a good prompt, if you give examples for your generative model, here in this case we are using ChatGPT. If you give them an example, They will learn from this example and train your input data to give the output. Here we have given two examples. Feedback. First feedback is, I think the series was okay. Second feedback is, the acting of each character in the series was awesome. So, I think the series was okay. It took this okay as neutral. So, this is a sentiment neutral. Here, awesome it took as positive. So, your sentiment becomes positive. Now, your input data is the storyline for the series was repetitive and abysmal. And your output indicator here is sentiment. What is the sentiment for this? You're asking your ChatGPT what will be the sentiment of this entire prompt. That is your context that you have given, which tells ChatGPT to act as an analyst and do sentiment analysis. It gives an instruction to classify the feedback provided, that is your input data, and classify that feedback into positive, negative, and neutral. Here you are giving examples for the same so that your ChatGPT can understand, learn, and then act accordingly. Now, the output for this particular feedback is negative. So, if you copy paste this into your ChatGPT, it gives you an output as negative for this sentence. So, this is how you should write your prompt which is good. These are the components, good components for your prompt, so that the output that ChatGPT generates for you is exact for you to work upon. So, this is what we understood about components of a good prompt. Now that you have seen what are the different components of a good prompt, let's have a look at a good checklist that you can keep in mind while designing an effective prompt for better results. So, the first one is defining the goal. Telling ChatGPT what exactly you want to do. That is called defining the goal. Next is detail out the format. Format is output format that you want ChatGPT to provide you. For example, as I told you previously, it can be table, paragraph, list, CSVs, anything that you want. And you can give it in a priority order also. Ask ChatGPT to give you in a priority order if you are working on such content. Next is creating a role. If you remember the previous prompt that we discussed, while learning about components of a good prompt, we told as a context, act like an analyst. That is creating a role so that ChatGPT assigns or processes based on your request, based on that role that you have asked. Next is clarity who the audience is, or clarify who the audience is. Basically, you are telling ChatGPT, please generate the output based on the demography of my audience, whom I am catering to. It can be beginner level, intermediate, advanced, if you are creating any content. If you are creating code, it can be foundational, functional, expert. Based on the audience, it can also, if you are a teacher and you are using ChatGPT, you can specify, I want to teach fractions from a 6th class learner perspective. Or if you want to create a content, or if you are working on something and you want to make someone understand that particular concept For example, I want a 10-year-old to understand what is prompt. How would I make that particular learner understand? That kind of clarity, that kind of clarifications, when you put in your prompt, what is your target audience, it will generate tailored feedbacks, tailored outputs for your prompt. Next is giving context. Basically, you are giving every possible additional information for ChatGPT in your prompt so that the purpose of your request is clarified to ChatGPT and the response that it generates is what you want. Next is giving examples. We saw in the previous components, while we were understanding components, that giving example trains your ChatGPT or makes it understand that what you want, and it learns from it to produce accurate results. Next is specifying the style. It can be communication style. If you're working with a brand, it can be how your brand works. Communication style such as informal, formal, what do you want to do? So it's suitable for your response. Next is defining the scope. When you outline the scope with specifications, besides giving context and examples, ChatGPT operates within those parameters. For example, temperature, when you are telling, okay, I want to be creative, my temperature is this. I want my top P to be this, right? You are defining the scope for your ChatGPT. Applying restrictions. Restrictions becomes your what is, supposing, length that you want. The output length, the token length that you want. There is a restriction, but what is that you want? When you apply those restrictions, that constraints will create right boundaries for ChatGPT to produce relevant responses. So, all these are checklists that you can keep in mind. Again, these all pointers in your checklist revolves around all the components of a good prompt that we have already seen. But as a checklist, you can keep in mind that, okay, these are my pointers which I can follow when I'm designing my prompt. So, this is how you can write a good prompt. So, now let's understand what are the different prompt patterns. One is your persona patterns. Act as X. Do the task as Y. As a yoga instructor, create a beginner-friendly routine for joint mobility. For example, this is your persona pattern. Next is your audience persona pattern. For example, in the previous bit I told, explain this concept, supposing prompt. Explain prompt to me, assume that I am a 10-year-old child. Or another example that is there, explain the importance of eating greens, assume I am a skeptical child. So you are trying to tell ChatGPT that what is your audience persona. And you are writing your prompt or designing your prompt, having the correct bits. Explain to me, assume I'm this. Or previously, persona pattern, act like this. Next is visualization generator pattern. Now, I have a tool. I want to generate a data, for example, and provide that data to my tool. So, it can be generate X that can be provided to tool Y for visualization, for data analysis, for anything. It can generate data in tabular format. It can generate CSVs that can be provided, that you can download and provide it to your tool for visualization, data analysis tasks, modeling, machine learning tasks, anything. So these are the first three prompt patterns: persona pattern, audience persona pattern, visualization generator pattern. Now let's see the next pattern, that is recipe pattern. For example, you want to do X task, but to perform this X task, there are steps or subtasks A, B, and C. So I want ChatGPT to have a complete itinerary generated for me if I'm traveling from Bangalore to Darjeeling, and from there I can take a train or a cab to Darjeeling. Now, based on this, I am telling ChatGPT to complete my itinerary. This is a recipe pattern where you know you want to do an X task, and you know that A, B, C are the sub tasks or the steps that are necessary for you to do that X task. So this is the recipe pattern. Next is your template pattern, where you provide, or as a user, I provide the ChatGPT or generative model with placeholder, with a template and a placeholder, so that my output, ChatGPT fits my outputs in those placeholders. For example, I want a day-wise travel itinerary. If I'm visiting to Paris, I'm telling ChatGPT to generate day-wise travel itinerary for visiting Paris. Now, my placeholders are day for the day of the travel, supposing Monday. Location, in Paris, what location I'm traveling to. Activity, what in that location I plan to do. Time, what is the best time or best part of the day to travel or to go there. This is my entire template, and how I want the output, it's indicated for day, visit, location, at time, for activity. So if ChatGPT generates, it will give you for Monday, visit location X at time noon, for activity visiting museum, for example. So this becomes your entire output. And you're giving the template. You're giving placeholders that place my information in these and generate output in the form of this line for day, visit, location, at time, for activity, containing everything. So these are your 5 prompt patterns that you can imbibe while designing your prompts, so that you have better responses from ChatGPT. And also you understand what you want to do. You have a clarity what you want to do and work accordingly. If you want a pattern where you want ChatGPT to act as a person, or you want to give an idea to ChatGPT, what audience you are catering to, or you are doing visualization, or you are doing data analysis, what is your pattern? If you are doing a task which contains subtasks or sub-steps, what is the pattern you follow? And if you have a template in mind, how you want your output to be generated, then you have template pattern. So all these 5 patterns you can keep in mind along with your checklist while designing your prompts. Let's now see common prompting errors. So, vague or ambiguous prompts, when you just write, what is joins? What is prompt engineering? That is your vague and ambiguous prompts where you do not have any context, instruction, what to do. Just vague prompts. Then there are biased prompts where you are designing the prompts, supposing you have 2 categories and the data or the instructions that you are providing, the examples you are providing is leaning towards one And now the second category is left alone. That is your biased prompts. Third is lack of contextual information. You have just said, okay, generate the content for fractions. But what is the target audience that you are acting? Are you a teacher that you are teaching? Is there any template? Is there any flow that you want to follow? Are you looking at creating a course? Are you looking at teaching fractions as a slide you want, or as paragraph you want? Anything, any contextual information is missing. Then you have insufficient examples. You do not have examples. For example, you are just saying generate synthetic data for doing sentiment analysis. But what on? You need to provide some content, some information that, okay, this is my data. Now, based on this, you generate synthetic data in a CSV format for me to do sentiment analysis. That is lacking your training data or examples, insufficient examples. Then there is complex or confusing prompts. If you write full lengthy prompts, but it is very complex, it has several different informations, such as you have target information also. You are acting as a target audience information. You are acting as a analyst, and you have target audience. You have branding also. You have campaigning also in that. It is very confusing for ChatGPT to pick one persona and act. Or, for example, you are designing a campaign, but you have given a lot of information. Check out Coca-Cola campaign that happened at this year, or check out this campaign and design my campaign. It is confusing when you give different reference points. You need to be very clear. You need to be less complex. Your prompt needs to be very simplified so that ChatGPT can understand. Last is not testing prompts thoroughly. You have given a very good prompt. You have designed a very good prompt and given to ChatGPT. It generates something, but you are not reading it. You are blindly following what it generates. You're not giving it a feedback. You are not asking what it has understood from your designed prompt. That is not testing prompt thoroughly, and you will have less accurate responses, and in some cases, wrong responses. Now let's see what are the applications, different applications of prompt engineering. One is content generation. You want copywriting, advertising, creative writing, educational content. You can do anything and everything under content generation based on your target audience, based on who you are catering to. Next is customer support and engagement. There are various chatbots and virtual assistants that can use generative models and instructional guides as well, so that your customer is engaged. You do not need human as resources to reply to your customers. There are generative models that can help you with act as a human and reply to your customers at all times 24/7. Then there is data analysis and science. Data cleaning, data preparation, visualization, as we talked about. Whatever you want to do, you can give an input as your data. There would be a size limit. You give and you tell to clean. You generate the code. You can ask what to do when you are doing statistical analysis on this kind of data. What tests, hypothesis testing to do. So all these come under data analysis and data science. Then application comes under code generation and software development, that is automating your code writing, debugging, documentation. So all these using ChatGPT or generative models, they can make your life easy. They can generate a code for you, whatever you are looking at. But you have to be very specific. You have to be very clear what you want so that your output, your response from ChatGPT, your generative models are customized based on your prompts. Next is research and information retrieval. Like, for example, text summarization, question answering, anything and everything. You can give links as a context and tell that, okay, these are the specific researches done in this field. Based on this, give me your hypothesis. What next can be done? For example, next is machine translation, information sharing, internal communication, anything related to machine translation. Then sentiment analysis, consumer feedback analysis, brand management, marketing, all these things using sentiment analysis can be done. And prompt engineering is used to create tools for this. Other domains include healthcare, where you can do diagnosis. You can create a system using generative model to diagnosis for a disease, and you can design prompts that, okay, my patient is this, it has a history of this, now these are the symptoms, what is your diagnosis? Manufacturing. In manufacturing, if you want to supply your manufacturing and your suppliers, you create a LLM, you create a generative model where your users, your employees can ask, if I'm manufacturing this, if I have to transport here, what to do, what not to do, everything. The mesh, the network that you have in manufacturing industry, it can intake and give you output results based on your prompts. Then comes security. Security, there are attacks. They can be a lot of AI tools that can be used to prevent those attacks, to prevent your systems, without failing. Last is retail and shopping, that is e-commerce. In your OTT platforms or shopping, e-commerce, Myntra, different websites, Amazon, they can use generative models to intake all these things, and you prompt that, okay, I want this, and it helps you with retail and shopping. So these are the various applications for prompt engineering. Now let's write a few prompts so that you can understand what are prompts, how to write them. So we are on a prompt engineering course where you understanding the outcome of this course is for you to understand what is prompt engineering, how to write a good prompt, right? So let's give ChatGPT a simple prompt, that is, what is prompt engineering, and let's see what it tells us. It starts generating and it tells you what prompt engineering refers to, what is crafting and refinement of prompts, and generates responses from AI language models such as GPT. Then it's saying that prompt engineering involves considering various factors such as language used in prompt, structure of prompt, context. Effective prompt engineering can significantly improve performance and usefulness of AI models in various domains, such as including natural language understanding, text generation, dialogue systems, etc. If you see, this is a query that you have put, which you can also put on Google and get different links, not a text, not a paragraph, but different links where you can open the links and read it. Here on ChatGPT, when you enter what is prompt engineering, you get this, a definition, a elaborated explanation of what the generative model, that is ChatGPT, that uses GPT as a generative model, understands about prompt engineering, and it tells you their perspective of it. based on the different parameters that it is trained on. Now, let's see another example. Suppose I want to travel 5 days in India. Please make me itinerary. I give this a prompt. According to ChatGPT understanding, it will give me this. Arrival in Delhi. I have not said that where am I arriving from. It assumed arrival in Delhi. Day 2, Delhi to Agra. Day 3, Agra to Jaipur. Day 4, Jaipur sightseeing. Day 5, Jaipur to Delhi. And it tells me when you are in that day, you arrive in Delhi, for example. It is capital of India. Visit historic landmarks like Red Fort. Explore bustling streets of Old Delhi. Experience, optional, visit is Humayun's tomb or Qutub Minar. Okay. Again, day 2, it's giving different, or day 3, it is giving different options. I have not said here what I like. I have not said whether I am a beach person or a mountain person or a normal, I want to travel, which kind of places, hot, cold, nothing. It has not asked also. This is my random prompt that I have given ChatGPT. Now, let's see a different kind of example. I have a passage of 3-4 sentences. I want to summarize in one sentence, right? I am giving an example. That my example text is, scientists have discovered a new species of orchid in rainforests of South America. And the output that I'm giving is a new species, the entire sentence. Okay. Now, my sentence or my passage is on prompt engineering. It involves crafting precise, context-specific instructions and queries. And these prompts provide guidance. We can enhance model performance, achieve better control over generated output, and address limitations associated with open-ended language generation. And I want to summarize this into 1 or 2 sentences, right? This is my prompt. I give this, and this is what it gives me. However, isn't it feeling as same? Now, if I say, please shorten this further. For example, I don't want this much. I want short and crisp. It still gives me this. Again, I say, please be concise. Now it gives me prompt engineering uses precise prompts to guide language models, improving performance, control, and overcoming limitations in generating responses. However, the first one, when I asked, please shorten this further, it said crafting precise instructions called prompts to guide language models and shape their output. It enhances model performance, offers better control over generated responses, and addresses limitations of open-ended language generation. If you compare this output with this output, some information is lost. Some information is retained while making it concise. So you have to see what responses you are getting based on your prompts and give them a feedback what you want to do. So these are some examples of prompts. This is the first time you're looking at prompts in this course. So we try to cover from basic content generation, basic query-based prompts to traveling itinerary without any information, to text summarization where you are given an example and asking to summarize and giving ChatGPT a feedback on it, right? So this is your first prompt. Now let's see different components and further analyze what is a good prompt. Now let's look at few examples so that we can analyze what are good prompts and the checklist that we have seen, the persona patterns we have seen, the components that we have seen, how to integrate that while designing your prompts. Now let's see how we have designed this prompt and what all components we have included. In content generation, where we have written provide a comprehensive overview of text summarization, which is our main topic or concept that we want to understand, empowering learners to grasp its significance and potential applications across diverse domains. So basically with this line, we are telling that we want our learners to grasp what is text summarization for different domains. It can be for manufacturing domain, it can be healthcare. But what is text summarization? We want our learners to understand that. Now we have given some guidelines also here. You need to follow below guidelines while answering. We are telling ChatGPT, provide an insight into text summarization, a tool for condensing lengthy text into shorter and more manageable versions. Second, we say explore various techniques like extraction, abstraction used to achieve this and provide clarity on how it works. Third, we are saying provide relevant examples of different domains and use cases where this text summarization can be applied. Fourth is explain text summarization, how it is evolving and innovating with advancement in AI and machine learning, offering customized solutions for diverse needs. We are also giving extra instructions also that while providing insights, the learners are from different domains and have just the preliminary knowledge of text summarization. Cover the basics. So for that, you cover the basics of text summarization techniques, highlight key concepts without diving into overly technical details. What not to do, we have also specified. This approach will cater to our audience's level with familiarity of the topic. We can tell the level also here, but let's see how it responds. Give explanation in clear, straightforward American English. We are telling the scope also, we are telling the communication style also. Ensuring the accessibility and understanding, maintain a clear and straightforward tone. Ensuring accessibility and ease of understanding for all learners. Now let's give this prompt to ChatGPT and see how it responds. So, it gives text summarization is a powerful tool used to condense lengthy text into shorter, more manageable versions. It's basically taken what we have provided and given as a definition, making it easier for readers to grasp main points without going through entire document. Now, this is now breaking our key aspects into better understanding. Insights into text summarization, where it tells that it can be thought of a process similar to what humans naturally do when they summarize an article, a book or a conversation. The goal is to extract the most important information and present in a concise form. That's okay. That is the insight that it is giving. Now, we also highlighted that please ensure that you are using extraction and abstraction also to explain text summarization. And along with that, use examples and use cases also, where it is highlighting what are the applications in various domains, in news aggregation, academic research, legal documents, that is your law, in branding, social media, in customer feedback analysis, which different companies uses. Then it is giving the evolution and advancements with time, what it has done. Customized summaries, multimodal summarization, real-time summarization, evaluation matrix, various things that has evolved in text summarization. Now, if you want more insights on text summarization, where you want different techniques for it to explain different techniques, you need to tell, please explain furthermore or elaborate furthermore on techniques used, on extraction or abstraction, or give me more examples, not application, examples. So if you see here, it has given use cases, the applications across. It has not given examples. So you can say, this is my feedback to you that the explanation that you have generated is missing example. I am not able to correlate what is given here, what you have generated here, right? So you can tell the examples are missing. You can also tell that evolution and advancements does not tell me when it started, does not tell me a history. Evolution means history. It is not telling me that. So all these are your feedbacks so that you can have a output, you can have a response, a final response that gives you what is text summarization, what is the significance of text summarization, what are different techniques of text summarization, what are the different examples of text summarization, what are the applications, how it evolved, when it started, what are the different things, what are the different advancements in using AI now. So you can definitely work furthermore. Now, this was ChatGPT 3.5. Let's now see in ChatGPT 4. We create a new chat and give the same prompt to ChatGPT 4 also and see how it responds. What is the difference between 4 and 3? We have given the same prompt, not changed a single line here. So it has generated an output where it generates a content on text summarization. And if you note the first line, it has not taken the same thing that we have given as prompt. It has written and explained in its different words or different explanation what is text summarization, which is a powerful tool in the field of natural language processing designed to condense long pieces of text into shorter, concise summaries. Now, it tells you the techniques of text summarization, which is abstraction and extraction, with tools and various examples of it, various applications of it. Now, it tells you applications across various domains as well, which is closely the same as 3.5. Again, this is also missing your examples. It has not given you any example. In evolution, if you see, it has given how it has evolved. You can also give a feedback to ChatGPT 4 that I want a timeline evolution for text summarization. And it has briefly explained some advancement. Again, as compared to 3.5, that is missing, which you can give as a feedback and it can improve upon. So this is what content generation example was in both ChatGPT 3.5 and ChatGPT 4. Now, let's see a different example, that is text summarization. We learned about text summarization. Now you have fairly a good idea what is text summarization. You give what you want to understand and it summarizes and gives you output. Summaries basically of what you provide. Now, let's provide ChatGPT an article and ask it to summarize it. So, we have the text summarization example here, where we are given an article on Indian Express based on Tesla policy, and we have asked that use Pinto pyramid principle. And we have given the link also to that to structure your communication from top down, ensuring swift and clear message delivery. Start with the conclusion, follow with key arguments, and then support with detailed information. Give only relevant information that is appropriate to understand business outcomes only. Use clear and straightforward language for better understanding. So, we have given a context and instruction. We have not given an example here, but we have given clear instruction and we have given restrictions also. We have given a style also that be straightforward, right? You can further give that, okay, make your word limit to this much only. Okay, so let's first see what it generates. So, in Pinto pyramid principle, we write a conclusion first. Then we write key argument, why we have concluded. So basically, if you are having a conversation and you want to conclude that conversation, you will write that conclusion first. Then you will write your key arguments. Okay, this is why I'm telling. And then you write the detailed information that is related. So basically, we want, because we are asking for business, right? Business needs conclusion first. So we have concluded this first, that India's decision to lower import taxes on EV could potentially pave the way for Tesla, led by Elon Musk, to enter Indian market. Now, key arguments are lowering import taxes, Tesla entry into Indian market, boost for India's EV industry. Then we have detailed inputs from that report only that are mentioned here, right? So, this is a text summarization in a structured way. Text summarization can also be, if you go back in the first prompt that you have written, where we had 4-5 lines and it summarized for us. That is also text summarization. This is a structured text summarization where you do not need to go through this whole article of Indian Express, and it gave you a conclusion, it gave you key arguments, what it presented in the article, right? So, this is an example for text summarization. Now, let's do an example on code generation, which mostly from people from tech domain or data domain will use ChatGPT for, right? So, the prompt has a Python recursion code for calculating factorial, where we are defining a method to calculate factorial if n is equals to 1, equal to 1, return n, else return n into calculate factorial. We are doing recursively, right? Now, the same calculating factorial we have done with non-tail recursive function, right? We are giving an example on that as well. Now, what we want is to write a program with recursive function to check if a string is palindrome in Python or not, right? Where we have given 2 examples of recursion on factorial, and now we are asking ChatGPT to generate code for palindrome. Now, this has given that, okay, with comments that this is the base case, if the length of the string is 0 or 1, it's a palindrome. Compare the first and last characters of the string, false, okay? Return false if it is not equal. Recursive call, check if the substring excluding the first and last characters, right? So, this becomes your output. Now, this function works by recursively checking if the first and last characters of the strings are same. Okay. You can also, in your prompt, say, please explain line by line as well, if you want further elaborated explanation as well, though it has given comments, right? You can further ask, give me further more explanation for this. Now let's see the same thing in ChatGPT 4. In ChatGPT 4, it actually has explained what is this function, what it does, where len is equals to 0, a single character, what it will do. Both cases will be true. It returns true. Okay. What is the recursive case? First checks if the first and last characters of the string are same. Calls is palindrome. It is telling each and everything that the function is doing. This is equivalent. However, this is a little bit optimized version of 3.5. Now you can see a difference between how or what 3.5 generates code for a specific problem statement and how 4 generates. So basically 4 is more optimized for code generation rather than 3.5. In 3.5 you can iteratively ask, please optimize this, right? In 4, you can do once or twice and then actually it will give you an optimized version for the same. And you can write furthermore to refine your prompt. You can write, please give me the complexity, time complexity, storage complexity for the same, space complexity for the same, right? So these are the examples for a good prompt where you are giving a context, where you're giving an instruction, where you are giving restrictions, where you are following items from your checklist, where you are following a pattern to provide a pattern to your ChatGPT as well. So these are some of the examples that you can refine more, you can experiment more with. Advanced prompt strategies. These are different prompts or different types of prompts that exists. We are taking only 3 types: zero shot, few shot, chain of thought process. That's it. There are several different more strategies that exists, like self-consistency, tree of thought, respond, rephrase, etc. You can go and dive deeper into the same. Let's now see what is zero shot. Zero shot is directly instructing your model, that is ChatGPT, to perform a task without any additional examples. For example, I just say, classify my feedback into neutral, positive, and negative. And I give a line. That is the input. And it outputs the sentiment. That's it. This is my zero shot. Few shot is teaching with examples that we saw previously, where we gave 2 examples, and third is our input, where we are indicating how we want the output, and it gives the output for the same. So that is few shot. Zero shot is without any example. Any prompt without any example, where you are only telling the instruction. That's it. No context. Few shot is giving examples for ChatGPT to learn and produce your response. Now, chain of thought. Chain of thought is designed for logical tasks. Anything logical, it is the best prompt strategy to follow. You give in chain of thought an example how to do a process. For example, you are adding. You are given an example, 2 plus 2 is equals to 4. Then you say 15 plus 4 is equals to 19. Then you give an input. Okay, I want 3150 plus 10,500. What will be my answer? You are telling how to do the process. And then you are asking in your input, what will be the output? This is very basic. There are complex problems. For example, blood relations. X is related to Y. So what will be the relation for Z with X? So all these logical questions, all these logical and complex bits is for chain of thought. Now let's see examples of these three prompt strategies on ChatGPT so that you understand it better how to work with these on actual playground. Let's now see few examples on these advanced prompt strategies: zero shot, few shot, and chain of thought. Now, zero shot is giving no examples, just giving the instruction, just giving what it needs to do. So we'll take a simple example, very generalized example, where we are generating a passage in the style of William Shakespeare. Okay, we are giving this prompt. Based on what ChatGPT would have been trained on, it has given a passage of William Shakespeare. But from where it is from? You can ask from where this passage is from. The passage I provided is an original composition written in the style of William Shakespeare. While it captures the language, imagery, and themes often found in Shakespearean work, it is not directly derived from any specific text by the bard. Did you want the same? Right? You need to give the feedback. Now, I did not want in this manner. I wanted a extract from his own plays or his own poetry and given as an example, right? Or is it following what you want, right? You can give that as a feedback as well. Now, this is zero shot. If we want to make this as a few shot, we need to give an example. We have given an example. Generate a passage in the style of William Shakespeare. Example is original text to be or not to be, that is the question. Shakespearean style rewrite is whether there's nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. Similarly, in example 2, we have given all the world's is a stage and all the men and women merely players, right? So now we say this is few shot. It has given an example: out brief candle, life's but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frits his hour upon the stage and then is heard no more. Right? And Shakespearean style for this. So this is an example of zero shot and this is an example of few shot, right? Let's take another example where we say ChatGPT to translate. It's a lot of William Shakespeare, right? Let's take a more simpler example, where I say, translate this English sentence to Spanish. I am a Spanish reader. This is the English sentence I want to translate into Spanish. I say this and it gives the translation for this. Now, if I want to make this few short, I'll add examples. I'll add more examples for the same. I'll add, say that, okay, this is my article. I can give an article also and say, please translate this. These are my examples. Now take this article and translate in Spanish for me. I can do that as well. So that becomes few short for the same. In ChatGPT 4, there is an option that we want to highlight is that you can click on this attachment, add any attachment. It can be data set, it can be images, and train your ChatGPT that, okay, for example, you want to train, these are the picture of roses, where you provide different pictures of roses. And in input, as an input data, you give lily and you ask, what is it? Is it a rose? And it tells you based on what images you have input, is it a rose or not? Just a random example. The same can be used for data science or data analysis, different activities, visualizations as well, where you can give the data and ask ChatGPT to analyze, visualize the data and give you outputs for the same. Now, let's see chain of thought. Chain of thought is said to be logical. It works on logical bits, right? Here in this prompt example, we have designed few question and answer that is on blood relation, where the first question is, if Michael says, Patrick's mother is the only daughter of my mother, how is Michael related to Patrick? We are giving the answer is, Michael is saying that Patrick's mother is Michael's own mother's only daughter. This means Patrick's mother is Michael's sister, making Michael Patrick's uncle. Okay. Second example we are giving, Emma is John's sister, Mark is John's father, Linda is Mark's sister, and Thomas is Linda's son. What is the relation between Emma and Thomas? Emma is John's son, making her Mark's daughter. Linda, being Mark's sister, is Emma's aunt, which makes Thomas, who is Linda's son, Emma's cousin. Right? Now, our input question is, Alex introduces Brad to his friend as the son of the only brother of his mother. How is Brad related to Alex? Output is, Brad is the son of the only brother of Alex's mother, which means Brad is Alex's cousin. Right? Logically, it correlates, the chain of thought correlates based upon your examples. Chain of thought can be of different types as well, where you can give different examples, complex examples as well, and it works. It is zero shot also, it is few shot also. So basically, this comes under few shot chain of thought prompt. Okay, zero shot is separate, where you give directly what you want without more explanation in your prompt designs, right? And then there is automatic chain of thought as well. So there are various chain of thought prompts as well. You can explore more and deep dive there as well. Apart from chain of thought, we have different prompting strategies as highlighted earlier. We have self-consistency, we have prompt chaining, we have response, rephrase, we have tree of thought. We have many advanced prompt strategies which you can deep dive and apply based on your requirement, your prompt design, what you want to do with your generative models with ChatGPT. Hope you have understood these three different advanced prompt strategies: zero shot, where you do not provide any examples; few shot, where you teach AI with few examples; and chain of thought, where it has three versions and is for logical thinking, is used for logical thinking and logical problems. Then we understood what are the components of a good prompt. What are the different checklists that you can follow to create a good prompt, to design a good prompt. Then we saw what are the different persona patterns that you can think of while designing your prompt, following the checklist. Then we understood different advanced strategies, prompt strategies, which is zero shot prompting, few shot prompting, chain of thought. with examples. We saw what are the common prompting errors that can happen if you miss something. And at last, we saw applications of prompt engineering. What are the different fields in which prompt engineering can be used? So, the key to becoming a proficient prompt engineer is to practice, experiment with different prompts. Again and again, give feedback to your generative models, be it ChatGPT, be it Gemini, be it any generative model. Analyze your outcomes, what response you are receiving, and giving them the feedback. Refine your techniques, refine your prompts based on the checklist that is provided, based on the different strategies. Read about different strategies and apply them. That is refining your techniques. Keep practicing, stay curious, explore various AI platforms to enhance your skills. This is how you can become a proficient prompt engineer. I hope you enjoyed this course. Thank you.